Well, I'm Lori Foster, and I have a new book out, Run the Risk. Let me see if I can see myself in this picture here. I've Run the Risk, and it's my first book of a new series called Love Undercover. And there's going to be 4 books. This one's Logan. The next one will be Reese and Bear It All. And then we're going to have Rowdy and Getting Rowdy. And the last one will be Dash, and I don't have a title for Dash yet. I've already finished Reese's book, and I'm like at the beginning of Rowdy's book, working on it. And Dash's will be last. I'm sorry, I have to keep checking my notes here. I'm supposed to tell you guys that we're going to spend a few minutes here just explaining how we're going to do things. And then I'm going to take reader questions. And lastly, we'll announce the winners and let know who got what, okay? Thank you. Let's see if we have any questions here yet. Okay, passion for fiction. Wait a minute, I lost seeing myself here again. Passion for fiction. I'm sorry, this keeps bumping around on me. Passion for Fiction says, who is your favorite character that you've ever created and your least favorite? And I know everybody always gives you that pat answer of your favorite is whichever one you're working on at the time. I do actually have some favorites. Mine are usually in novellas. Axel was one of my favorites. He was a gynecologist and he was hilarious. Sam was one of my favorites. I think I tend to like the over-the-top super alpha guys the most because they're so fun to write. I also really liked my preacher, Bruce, and When Bruce Met Sin, because he was so wonderful at seeing who Sin really was and focusing on her needs and what she needed. My least favorite, I don't think I have a least favorite. Well, yeah, actually I probably do. And I can't remember the title of it. Let me see. It was... You can see my crowded bookshelf behind me here. I was looking for it real quick. But it was in Married to the Boss or something like that. And it was only my least favorite because it was a continuity, which meant it was really tough to write. The book was recently reissued, and a lot of you asked me about it. And it's where the stories all tie together by characters. You kind of get this big Bible, and you have to follow a storyline that they give you, which is not really the way I like to write. So for that reason, that was probably my least favorite. And then Z Bookin has a question. Lori, how do you decide how many books you want in a series, and does it change once you started and decide you have more to write? I don't really decide that. The characters do. The characters, I start out with a character that I think will be good. It's almost always the guy. It's almost always the alpha hero. And I start writing his story, and along the way, he has buddies or friends or neighbors or someone that pops up, and I end up liking those guys too, and they get in my head and start demanding that they also have to have a story. So that's how that works for me. Sometimes I know going in, for instance, this particular time, I knew when I started this book, Run the Risk, almost immediately I knew he had a partner named Reese, so I knew they would both get stories, and Rowdy was also prominent immediately, and I knew he would have a story. Dash kind of snuck in on me, but that's one of the few times I think I really knew going in exactly how many people would be in, and it's looking like there might be a 5th character show up, so I don't know, we'll find out. Shelley Mead says, are your characters based on real people you've met or people you'd like to meet? Not people I've met, no. Although people that I know always think the books are about them. If I use a particular name, and that happens to be a name that somebody else, someone I know, a neighbor or someone from the school, they always think that I was writing about them, and I'm not, ever. Quirky things will happen. Somebody will say something that I think is funny, or they'll tell me a situation. A police officer once told me a situation he was in, and little by little that sparked a story, but the story had no other resemblance to him other than that little bit that he had told me about. So no, not based on any real people. Hula Monkey says, have you ever met any of the models of any of your covers? No, and I'm so glad because I would die of embarrassment. I've been married, gosh, I think 35 years now, and I see these guys and they just look like children to me. They're the same ages as my oldest son, who's 31 now. So, I haven't met them, and I think it would probably embarrass me to meet them. Yeah, well, if they were dressed as an everyday function, as long as they weren't dressed like in their cover model clothes, it would probably be okay. Um, Mackenzie Mackenzium says, do you have to travel much concerning your books? Probably more than I like to. If the publisher says they would like for me to go somewhere, I go because I think it's important if they're going to promote you to do whatever you can to help them to promote you. But I'm not really a big traveler. If I go someplace, generally it's I drag along the husband and the dog, and then you have to find someone to watch the cats. We have a menagerie here of pets, so it makes it a little bit difficult. I'm very soon here, at the end of the month, I'm going to be going to South Korea for my middle son's wedding. And I'm kind of looking forward to that, but also dreading the travel. And I had a really hard time arranging people to take care of my pets because obviously I can't take my Chihuahua all the way to South Korea with me. So, and that has nothing to do with books. I don't even publish my books in South Korea. Passion for Fiction says, if you weren't a writer, what would you be? Probably nuts. Probably just be nuts. I was talking to my grandson the other day, who is the most awesome little man in the whole world. He's 7 years old, and he gets in trouble a little bit in school for not paying attention, which sounds so much like his mama, because I had the hardest time. I was always daydreaming and always imagining stories, and I was always off in my own world. Got really good grades because pride demanded it, but I was not a good person to sit and pay attention in school. So I think even before I realized it, I think I was always creating stories, which just naturally led into being a writer. I'm sorry, there's a terrible glare right on my eye, isn't there? I'm not sure where it's coming from. Sorry about that. Let's see. Savvy Bookworm says, as it is evident by the dirty car art inspired by your book, you clearly have adoring fans. How does seeing something like that make you feel? That dirty car art was pretty darn cool, wasn't it? I was really impressed. And through the dirty car art, we found the people that made, I don't know if you've seen the video, the really awesome video that was made for Run the Risk. And that was by Onion Productions. They produced both those videos, the dirty car art video and the book trailer video that I had. So anytime I see something appreciative like that, it makes my day. You have to understand, people, my sister and I were at the lake. We bought a lake house a couple of years ago, and my sister and I were at the lake, and I had hit the New York Times, and she said, does it still strike you funny sometimes that you hit? And I said, sure it does, because I'm still just a little podunk me, and it's really fun to have anybody recognize you for something you've worked really hard for, and that you never really figured would be in your life. So that's really fun. Let's see. Does your husband ever get jealous of your writing? No, are you kidding me? He teases me all the time and tells me to write quicker so we can go do something more. He's the most wonderful, supportive, kindest, just all-around best person that I know. He's been my best friend since the third day of our sophomore year of high school, which is when I met him. And through thick and thin, through my mother dying with cancer, she stayed with us while she, was passing away. Through buying a lake house and good things and having a grandson, he's been by my side, and he's been the biggest supporter there is. So no, never jealous of anything, just as supportive as he can possibly be. That said, though, he doesn't read my books. I think he tries to every so often, and he fell asleep a few times, and I told him to quit. It's not his thing. He's more into like true crime, murder, mystery, serial killer type stuff. And so I told him to just quit trying to read it because it's not really his thing anyway. And if he's not a romance reader, he probably would not appreciate it the way I'd want a reader to appreciate it. Let's see. Shelley Mead says, do you have any animals? If so, can we see them? Oh, Shelley, let me tell you, I have so many animals. And my office is in the downstairs part. I have glass doors right here that look out to the pond. And I have about 4 cats wanting to come in right now. But if I let those cats in, they would be all over my keyboard, and they would be in front of the monitor, and you wouldn't be able to see me, you'd only see them. My little chihuahua is upstairs with hubby, and he's keeping her preoccupied so that she won't be down here, you know, trying to hog all the attention. She was really sick just recently. She had she's a 7-pound dog, and if any of you follow me on Facebook, you shared this with me, and I thank you so much for being there with me and letting me vent and letting me worry. But she's my little fur baby, and she's 7 pounds, and she had a tumor the size of a grapefruit, which is just almost impossible to imagine. And she had to have some major surgery, and it was just awful for me. But she's back home now, and she's healing up, and she's got a big scar that runs from her chin all the way down, and but she's doing okay. So if I hadn't left everybody separate so they wouldn't get in front of the monitor, I would gladly show off my animals. Come to Facebook and you can see plenty of pictures of them. See, Bogdan says, do you get ideas when you're sleeping? Do you keep a journal by your bed to write them down? And if you do, does it make sense when you read it the next morning? I have journals all over my house. I have a journal in the kitchen. I have a journal next to the chair I sit in when I quit in the evening to watch a little TV with the husband. I have a journal next to the bathtub. I have a journal. I pull a chair over next to the shower when I'm taking a shower instead of a bath. Kate Duffy, who was my editor at Kensington, once told me that ideas always bombard you when you're trying to sleep or when you're near water, which is very true. If I'm in the shower, I get the best ideas, or if you're in the tub. So it's frustrating if I've forgotten to bring a notepad near me. But my notes do make sense to me, but they don't make sense to other people. And we have cleaning people that come and once a week, and they clean twice a month. They do the whole house. Once a month they do the main floor. And I'll leave these goofy notes next to the bed. And one time it was like domestic violence, call the police, because I had forgotten something in a book that wouldn't have made sense if someone hadn't called the police. Well, heaven only knows what they thought when they saw that, you know, that I was just writing down notes to call the police for domestic violence in the morning. They do make sense to me. Here's the funny thing. If I get an idea and I don't write it down, the next day I can't remember it. If I get an idea and I write it down, I don't have to look at the note because then it's stuck in my head. I don't know, there's like some connection between my head and my hand. Once I write it down, then I remember it. The biggest problem for me is major streams of dialogue when I'm trying to sleep. I lay down to go to sleep and those characters start talking to each other, and they're far wittier when I'm trying to sleep than they are when I'm sitting here at my keyboard. So I'll jot down a lot of notes when I should be sleeping. Mackenzie M says, how do you feel about the cover images on your books? Do you get to choose them? One of the first things I did when I got any clout, you know, after I'd hit the New York Times and I was in my first bidding war between publishers, one of the first things I did was negotiate for cover approval, because I really, really detested some of my earlier covers. Since then, I haven't had any major complaints. If there is one I'm not as crazy about, I let the publisher know, and they do their best to change it to suit me. I am crazy nuts, absolutely crazy nuts about my Dare cover, When You Dare, which I thought was just one of the best covers ever created anywhere. I thought he was the most gorgeous guy. I love my Run the Risk cover. I think that's very nice. A funny thing, I got to see the cover for Bear It All, and I liked it, but I wasn't like over the moon in love with it. But then as I was going through my line edits, which is just basically where you go through, they've, you know, found typos for you and repetitious words. The more I read about him, the more he became the cover guy to me. And now I love the cover. I think it's just awesome. And I have a favorite cover for us, kind of a somewhat surprise character. That'll be a short electronic story in January that I am just, you know, totally, totally in love with, and I cannot wait to share it with you guys. So yeah, if I don't like my covers, I get to say so, and then they're supposed to try to change them and fix them for me. But overall, I really like the ones I've had the last few years. Z Bookin says, we love your Facebook updates, Lori. Yay, thank you, because I do a ton of them. People always ask me, how can I be writing when I'm always on Facebook? But I'll write a page or so, and then I check Facebook and say hi to all of you guys, and then I get back to work again, and it's like a nice little break for me. If I get up to let my doggy out or let one of the cats in, I play doorman for the cats all day long. One wants out, one wants in, two go out, one comes in. We have so many cats that they could keep me hopping. But I send a lot of pictures to you guys on Facebook of the cats and the dog, and I don't know. I really like visiting with all of you, so thank you for always being there with me on Facebook. Fish Stick 5, I hope I said that right, says, "Hi Lori, big fan. What is your work schedule like when you're writing?" My work schedule is insane even when I'm not writing, because there's always books I know I should be writing when I'm not. Right now, my schedule is especially insane because we had, I guess the little dog was sick. She was in the hospital for quite a few days. And my father-in-law was very sick and had, he's 88 and he has Alzheimer's. And he had cancer in his jaw, and he had to go in for a surgery for that. And so that was a lot of, when I should have been writing and my mind would wander off to think about them. And my sister-in-law recently lost her dog, which breaks my heart. And we bought a second lake house that we were remodeling strictly for friends and family to get to come visit us, so that they wouldn't be right underfoot. I could still write, but they'd be right next door visiting. So we've had an extremely crazy busy summer. And then my middle son, who teaches English over in South Korea, he's going to be getting married, so I've been trying to prepare for that to go. And then I just got word from my publisher that I get to do another benefit book, which, if you guys aren't familiar with that, that's where I get to pick authors, and we each write a novella, a short story, and the advance and all the proceeds from the book go to a really worthwhile charity. And this year again, I think this will be our fifth one, and this year again, they're going to go to the AAF, which is the Animal Adoption Foundation. It's a fabulous no-kill animal shelter. So I have to finish Rowdy's book and get the novella done before January. And go to South Korea and 101 other things. So I've got a lot on my plate, but my schedule is always like that. And it's not always just the writing. I turned in Reese's story, started Rowdy's story, got line edits back on Reese's story, got line edits back on the surprise character I told you guys about, and then there was been a ton of promo stuff to do. This counts. I enjoy this stuff, but it does, I was sitting here in my pajamas, with my hair in a ponytail and no mascara on, writing, and then I looked up, thought, oh, I better go get ready for this chat, so I had to run up and kind of fluff my hair a little bit and put some mascara on and stuff. So it does kind of throw you off a little bit, the promo stuff. So but I enjoy it. Let's see, Karen Walker says, "Are you going to write any more of your MMA books?" Oh, Karen, I hope so. That's my big plan right now. I said in this series there's a character that's going to show up. It'll be a little while because there's 3 more books in this series, but there's a character that's showing up who is an MMA fighter, who's kind of just kind of dropping into the scene. And I right now my muse is thinking that it would very much like to just segue right into more MMA characters. Now I don't really know how that'll work because Berkeley owns my MMA series characters. So the SBC was the organization I had with Berkeley, and all the characters that I had with them, Berkeley owns those characters. And now I'm with Harlequin. So I don't know if we can come to an agreement and I can reconnect with, I would rewrite those characters, but have it in those same gyms and with the same coaches and stuff. I don't know if I can do that or if I have to come up with a whole new MMA world. So we'll see, but I really want to. I very much like the MMA stuff. So I hope so. I hope that means that you enjoyed the MMA stuff, because I loved it. Simon and Harley, and they were some of my favorite characters. Okay, Savvy Bookworm says, "Why is donating to charity, other organizations, an important part of your work?" Oh, geez, because like I said, I'm just a country bumpkin, and my husband and I married right out of high school, and we've had 3 healthy, strong sons, and they're doing well. And I have a beautiful grandson, and life has been really good to us. We've never gone hungry. We've had our budgeting times, and we've had, like I say, when my mother passed away and my father passed away, and we've had our share of hardships, but, we've never suffered. We've never we've never gone hungry or had to live on the street or been in a war or had anybody disabled or not lost anybody to a violent crime. And as I said before, my husband's always been my biggest supporter. He's just I can easily say he's the best person I know. And so for that reason, I feel like because I've been so blessed, it's very, very important for me to give back to people who maybe haven't been as blessed. Uh, I'm a hugely conservative person with my finances, but I like to be generous when I'm donating to others. And my husband told me once, and it's true, it makes us feel as good to donate as it does to the people who receive the donations. And I think it's a big uplifting thing for me. When I know that I can make a difference, when I go to the One Way Farm, which is a home for abused and abandoned children, and you can make a nice donation there. Well, number one, the people that work there, I admire them greatly because I couldn't. I don't understand child abuse at all. And I would be extremely strict about child abuse. You know, if I was creating laws, there would be some serious stuff going on because I despise the idea of anybody hurting a child. And almost as equally, I despise the idea of anybody hurting an animal. You know, to me, you can tell by the alphas that I write, people are supposed to help people. If you're bigger and you're stronger, you're supposed to help those who are smaller and weaker. I very much like to. My husband says you don't want to float someone's boat, you want to put wind in their sails. And that's how I feel. I want to do something that I know can make a difference. And so for that reason, with the charities that I choose, I can really tell that it's making a difference. And that's very important to me. Thank you for asking that. I appreciate that. Z Bookin says, I like to cook to let off steam. What do you do when you're frustrated with writer's block? Apparently I buy lake houses. I bought a lake house, which is something I'd wanted for a really long time. I love being near the water. You can tell by some of the stories I've written that I grew up near the water. My parents had a fishing shack on a lake in Kentucky, and it was a one-bedroom, you know, kitchen and dining area and living area ran together. It didn't matter because your time was spent out on the water. You got up in the morning and you changed out of your pajamas into your bathing suit, and you wore your bathing suit all day long until you changed back into your PJs at night. We would take our bath in the lake. You know, we'd go down, and I don't know if you remember, ivory soap would float. We would float that soap all over that lake, taking quick baths, and you know, we were just regular little happy hillbillies. And I loved it. I loved being on the water. I could water ski all day. I could swim all day. I could lay in the sun like a lizard, and it was very enjoyable to me. So I really, really wanted a lake house, and we finally bought one. And like I said, it's a small one on a beautiful lake, and I enjoy it. And if you're ever on Facebook, you see all the pictures I post. And then we bought a second one that came up for sale right next door to us, specifically so that my sons and their significant others and my sister comes quite often, you know, relatives that could come and visit us, and they could have their private time and we could have our private time. So I get up in the morning and I write in my PJs until 2 o'clock, and then if I see them out and I decide to go out on a boat ride with them, I do. So it worked out perfectly. So that's my big thing. If I don't really believe in writer's block. I think if you think you have writer's block, you probably just took a wrong turn, and you need to figure out where you took the wrong turn and fix it, and then the story comes easier to you. I find that I do better if I don't try to dictate to my characters. If I let my characters dictate to me, then I don't really suffer any writer's block. My biggest problem is finding the time sometimes when too much is going on. But okay, let's see. Joni Armstrong says, was it hard to hold Pepper's true self back from Logan for so long? Oh, shoot, yeah, it was. It was. I hope that doesn't ruin it for anybody, but that was one of those things where I said I would take a wrong turn. I would suddenly have her acting too much like her real self, which would have given her away to Logan, and I would have to say, now, Pepper, you need to temper it a little bit. Don't do that yet. And I anticipated writing the big police station scene. That it kept me motivated because I had so much fun writing, knowing what she was going to do and, you know, what her payback would be and everything. So it was a little bit difficult holding her back. And it was a little bit difficult holding him back, to keep him from proclaiming himself and saying that he was falling in love, and having him try to remember that he was there for a larger purpose. So yeah, the characters give me fits sometimes. They really like to do their own thing, and I have to figure out how that'll work within the story. And my poor editor, they like to know ahead of time what the book's going to be about, because they create the covers and the back cover copy, and so often then I finish the book and they have to change it because what I wrote isn't at all what I thought it was going to be, because the characters didn't do what I assumed they would do. You know, I'm thinking they're going to do this or that, and this little quirky thing happens and they go off on a whole different escapade, and I just turn them loose, let them go. Just run free. see, Deborah says, who is your favorite couple who have written and why? Like a married couple who's writing? The only married couple I know who was writing was Lori and Tony Cariani. They wrote as Tori Carrington, and they were pretty awesome people. But I don't really know. Or are you asking, let's see, who is your favorite couple? Is that maybe supposed to have a you in there? Who is your favorite couple who you have written and why? Maybe that's it. That's a good one. Let's see. I don't know. I really liked Morgan and Misty. I thought they were a lot of fun from the Buckhorns. They cracked me up a lot. I thought they had a lot of fun together. Let's see, who else have I written? I really liked Harley. I thought Harley and whatever her name was, I can't think of it off the top of my head. People ask me questions about the books, and once I'm done, I have a very hard time remembering them. But Harley was a lot of fun. Simon and Dakota from Simon Says were a lot of fun because they were always butting heads. And actually, Simon and Dakota were more fun in the follow-up books because I didn't have to get as detailed. You know, I didn't have to work their problems out. I could just let them snipe at each other. So they were a lot of fun. I don't know that I have a favorite couple. I like different characters, but not necessarily them as a couple. Let's see. Fishstick5 said, I loved Run the Risk. Thank you. What other authors have inspired you throughout your career? Man, I'll tell you what, Stella Cameron is huge. Stella Cameron is an angel on earth. She's one of the finest people I know. Throughout my career, you know, you hit different levels in your career. When you're first starting out and you're trying to get sold and you don't know what's going on, there was Stella to help me out. And then when I got my first big break and I was in a bidding war and I had no idea what my books were still worth, obviously worth more, but I didn't really, you know, I didn't want to seem greedy. I didn't know what they were worth. I could ask Stella. She gave me great insight. When it was time to ask for a new contract and I wasn't sure what all the different perks were, I could ask Stella, you know, and just throughout life, she's hilarious. I like her. She's a wonderful person. She's a great patriot. She's a fabulous author. She's just an all-around wonderful woman. Elizabeth Lowell, Jane Ann Krentz, Linda Howard have been fabulous to me also. You know, the times that I've gone to them to ask them questions or ask for advice. I have close friends that I share stuff with. Duffy Brown, who also wrote as Diane Castell. You know, we haven't talked as much in the past year maybe just because I think I've been out of town so much, but she and I do the yearly reader-author get-together together, and Diane's fabulous. You know, it would be one of those things where I would get stuck on something and I would call her, or she would get stuck on something and she would call me, and before we'd even finish asking the question, we'd work out what the problem was. And it was just like hearing each other would help a lot. So she was always fabulous. Let's see, who else? You know, Janice Maynard, Luann McLean, Erin McCarthy, who I think is so funny. There's so many good people in this business who they keep you writing. And then you'll read a really good book every so often. Macy Beckett, and she just sent me the arc for the second book. Fabulous author, had a new book out this month. Sultry with a Twist, I think was the title. Sometimes you just get inspired by reading a really good book, and she has really good books. So she's got a new one coming out that like I said, I get to read the arc on now. So check her out. Let's see. Prairie Dawn said, "How old were you when you wrote your first book?" Geez, I don't know. It's been a while. Let's see. My first book published in '96, and I know I had written for at least 5 years before that one sold, and I'm almost 54 now, I think. I know I don't keep track. I think we're turning 54. So you'd have to do the math. I don't really know. I know I had 3 kids, and you know, actually thought when the kids got older it'd be easier to write because I'd have more time, because I was always the room mom and helped with the carnival and went on the field trips and all that. But actually it seemed like the older the kids got, the more time I spent doing other things instead of writing. So I don't know, try to figure the math out on that one. But way back in '96 was when I sold my first one. And I had been writing at least 5 years before that one sold. I wrote over 10 books before I sold my first book. So it's been a while. Let's see. Z Bookin says, do you have anything near your writing space that inspires you? I constantly burn candles. This is my favorite gift You know, when the kids will say, we don't know what to get you, Mom, I say, get me another scented candle, because I burn candles the entire time I'm writing. And I have my, I don't think I can get it up there high enough. Oh, where's the camera? I have that, my iPod that plays loudly and flashes colors for me the whole time I'm writing. And I keep the TV remote here because sometimes I flip on the news to see what's going on. I'm big into the politics, you know, of course. And basically that's what motivates me, you know, just the candles and my music and sometimes checking the news. And other than that, I have the big bookshelf behind me. This is kind of like the shop at home bookshelf. Friends and family, when they come by, they'll say, you know, can I grab a book? And I always tell them, any book on this shelf, just make sure they leave me at least 5, you know, so I have 5 for contests and stuff, but because I get a lot of author copies. But it's handy having that there too, because sometimes I need to remember something that was in a book, and I can just pull it up behind me and find it real quick. So let's see. Connie Schultz says, how long does it take you to write a book? Kind of as long as it takes, I guess. Sometimes I write them really fast, you know, if not too much terrible stuff's going on in life. And sometimes I write fast because terrible things are going on in life. When my mother was dying with cancer, you know, my big ghetto, I took care of the kids, and I took care of my mom. And then when I found time for me, I wrote. That was my escape. So I actually got a lot of books done while my mother was at my house. She had breast cancer that went to lung and bone and brain. So she, you know, she had a long, rough death. And she was in and out of hospice, but, you know, for the most part, she was with me. And so it's kind of my escape when things are going bad. And when things are going really good and my husband and I are on the lake and I'm playing too much, I start really, really missing it. And I start feeling frazzled, so I kind of need to get back to the writing, and then it makes me feel grounded again. So it's just kind of my everything. I really enjoy it. It helps me stay focused. So, you know, I can write a novella sometimes in 2 weeks, sometimes 2 months. I can write a big book in a month, sometimes 4 months. You know, I give myself 4 months for each book because you never know if life's going to happen and something goes wrong. But like I say, it just kind of depends on, I don't miss contracts, you know, deadlines, but depends on what's going on in life. It varies. Let's see, Deborah says, do you have plans for more Ella Foster books? I really enjoyed the Servant books. You can be my new best friend, Deborah, because I am dying to get back to the Servant books. And Harlequins, you know, taskmasters that they are, want me to produce the romance books at a regular interval. You guys really, I finish a book and then you guys say, when's the next book? And I haven't even finished writing it yet. So I'm trying to keep up with the romance stuff, and I really want to fit another Servant book in. And I'm hoping to do that after I finish. Like I said, this is the first book of the series. Book 2 will be out in May. I should be done with book 3 by December, and I'm hoping to fit a Servant book in before I start book 4. But I don't know. You know, that's right around the holidays and a lot of stuff going on. So if I can, I'll fit it in. And if I can't, I don't want to kill myself doing it, because I really, really enjoyed writing those books. It was like this huge change of pace. I was stunned when the second book in the Servant series got Amazon's #1 pick in romance, because I didn't realize there was much romance in it. But apparently that's just my roots, and the romance are going to come through, whether I mean for them to or not. But I loved the idea that I could go in and have blood and totally kick. Well, you guys can probably tell from my alpha guys, I kind of like a little bit of violence. That's my big thing. I enjoy it. If I'm going to the movies and it's a rated R for sex and violence, I'm in. You know, if it's some mushy drama, chick flick, I don't really care. So I kind of enjoy that anyway. So to get to write Gabby in the Servant books, who was totally kick butt and you know, was fighting really heinous people that were doing just really awful things, and good always triumphs in the end. That's really my cup of tea. I like it a lot. Let's see, Shelley Mead said, if you weren't allowed to write romance novels anymore, what genre would you be most interested in trying out? Probably the Servant stuff that I just was talking about. I love those books. I had so much fun. I could easily leave romance behind to concentrate on those. The thing is, I don't make nearly as much on those as I do in romance. So romance is kind of my bread and butter. I really like writing romance. But I could be happy just writing the servant books, you know, that type of book that has romance in it, but it's not the number one focus. You know, I mean, there's romance, there's sex. I think they were still fun in their own way, but there was an awful lot of violence too, which I don't know, I liked. Let's see, you know, and one of these days I want to write a kid's book. I guess because my 7-year-old grandson my grandson, I'm sorry, is so incredibly awesome. I really want to write. I love reading to him. He's an awesome reader, but it's just fun to snuggle up and read to him. And I would just really like to do some kids' books someday too, you know, if I ever get the time. Let's see, Joni Armstrong said, I am really wondering what Alice is hiding. She seems like she knows a lot about law enforcement. Can we have a little tiny hint about what she's got hidden? Joni, did you not read her in Trace of Fever? If you read her, she was in Trace of Fever, which was the second book from the Men of Honor series. Let me see. Here it is. Sorry, I dodged away to find it. So here was the first book, When You Dare, and then in this book, Trace of Fever, Alice is here. She's in this book, and you know what she's hiding because you know what she did in this book. Reese doesn't know what she's hiding, though. And so she kind of got her new, it's almost like she's one of those people that she doesn't have a new identity. It's still her name, but her entire past is hidden because these guys were such bad, you know what, that they're able to do that. They're able to totally set somebody back up. And so yeah, Alice had a good time. Alice has got some big old secrets she's hiding, and she's, you know, now that she's got her sights set on Reese, look out. That was a fun book to write. Z Bookin says, what's your favorite season? Summer. Heat. I don't, you know, I love Christmas, but I hate the cold. I think it should snow like a couple of days before Christmas, a couple of days after, and then we should be back to spring or fall, you know, landsliding back into summer. Summer's my favorite season. I love not having to wear shoes, wearing t-shirts, not needing a coat, not having cold hands. So that's, and I love just being out on the water and in the boat, swimming. So that would be my favorite season. I really enjoy fall and spring and, you know, the Christmas part of winter, but I'm not a winter person. Let's see, Savvy Bookworm says, what do you think about 50 Shades of Grey? Love it or leave it? I haven't read it, but I think it's phenomenal that this person accomplished what she did, that she has got so many people talking about it. Oh my gosh, what an amazing thing to happen. And it drives me insane. I heard some authors say, I won't drop names here, but I heard a few authors say, you know, it wasn't written very well, and you know, if you're going to read erotica, read this erotica, it's better. But then everybody coins off that. You know, there's so many shades of this or that out there now. People trying to you know, ride the coattails of 50 Shades of Grey. That it cracks me up that somebody would say it wasn't good. You know, people say that about every book. This book wasn't good. That book wasn't good. That book had a whole lot of, that series, you know, it was a whole series, had a whole lot of something going for it because a lot of people love it. So she hit a nerve. You know, she hit a nerve. She found an audience, and more power to her. I think it's incredible and awesome, and I'm thrilled for her. I don't read erotica, and I don't have any real interest in writing erotica, but I understand the market for erotica, and I understand that other people love it. And apparently she really tells an awesome story and really meets the reader. So I'm thrilled. Anytime an author does something that hasn't been done before, I say we celebrate that. Sylvia Day, who is this incredibly lovely person. You know, a lot of times, like, I had never heard of E.L. James until she did this 50 Shades of Grey. Sylvia Day I knew, and I already knew she was a phenomenal person. She's in one of the benefit books. And you know, when you do one of the benefit books with me, the authors make no money. They literally donate their time, they write a story, they help promote it, and they make nothing because the money goes directly to the charity. We never see it. We don't touch it. The contracts are written up so it goes directly to the charity. And Sylvia Day was in one of those. And I wrote her a note the other day say, how cool, I have Sylvia Day in a benefit book. You know, she's someone that I knew, who I know has been a good writer and been working hard and going through the grind that we all do. Sorry, my screensaver keeps coming on. And and to see her hit it big like this, I think is exciting. To see someone I actually know do it, I think it's pretty cool. Haven't read, like I said, since it's not my thing, I probably won't read it, but I think it's pretty neat. Clay Allison says, "What TV show is your favorite?" Clay's kind of an inside joke because that's someone I know, but Justified's one of my favorites. Timothy Oliphant, hottest guy around. I think he is just all that. Also, Archer. I hope some of you watch Archer. I was talking about liking sex and violence. Archer is so incredibly cool. I love Archer. My husband will always joke and say, "You think he's incorrigible, don't you?" Because they can shoot Archer and he's okay. And even while he's being shot, he's looking to hook up with some sexy lady, so it's a good show. Same thing with Justified. Timothy Oliphant was in The Perfect Getaway. Most awesome movie ever. Terrific movie. See, Red Feather says, "Do you know where your series stories are going to take you before you start a new book, or do they take you on a ride?" I have a inkling of an idea, like for Reese's story. In this book, Reese's story as this book was ending, Reese was at Alice's door, and so I knew it was going to start there. And I had an idea about, because of Alice's secrets and having already known her, I had an idea where things would go. So many things happened that I did not know, that I had no clue would happen. Alice did things that I never anticipated her doing, and Reese did things I never anticipated him doing. So, I have like this very, very basic idea of how to start it, how to get it going, and I know it's going to end happy. I know they'll have hot sex along the way, and they'll have a few arguments, and they'll save somebody probably. But other than that, I don't really know. I just kind of go along for the ride and have a lot of fun with it. Mackenzie M says, "Your Run the Risk book trailer is so good. Any hopes of it becoming a movie?" Wouldn't that be awesome? Like I said, Onion Production did that video for us, and I definitely want them to do book trailers for the other books as well. And boy, they could shoot a movie, I think, because they're so good at it. I would never turn down a movie deal, but that's one of those things, they have to come knocking on your door. And I'll have people say, "Why don't you have that made into a movie?" It's not really something you do. It's something someone comes to you and gets you to sign an option clause to have something made into a movie. So if it ever happened, I'd be all over it. Mariana Barrios said, "Hi, Lori. You're such a good writer. We love you here in Venezuela." Oh, how cool, Venezuela. "Can we expect having more of your books in my country anytime soon?" Oh, geez, Mariana, that's totally up to the publisher. I don't handle that. I hope so. That would be really cool. The way it works, like I just got news today about a book going to Germany. I write the book and I give it to my publisher, and then they take care of possibly selling it in other countries and where it's distributed and when and if it's reissued. There's so many things that aren't in my hands. I don't write the back cover copy. The last book that was out, I think there was like 1,000 books got messed up at a printer or something, and some of the readers thought that somehow I had done the printing on it, and I'm like, no, I didn't. I'm really sorry about that too. But there's so many things that are out of my hands that I don't have control over, and where the book goes is one of them. And that'll be the same thing like Carly Phillips and I were talking one time, and she said, I see a lot of your books here in my area, but I never see my books. And I thought that was so funny because I see a ton of Carly Phillips books and never see my own books in my area. I go to my local stores and I rarely see any of my books, but I'll see Carly everywhere, and she said it's the same for her. Excuse me. So I don't have a whole lot of control over that. That's done by other people. Amanda Starr said, "Aside from your awesome bookshelf behind you, are you a big book collector, or are you more of an e-reader person?" I am totally not an e-reader person. I guess because I spend all my time here on this computer. When I'm done, I want to hold a book, and I want to sit in a comfy chair or I soak in the bathtub a lot of times to read. I'm not really big on the whole electronic thing. Nothing wrong with it, just because I spend so much time on the computer already. Probably in the fact that I'm in my mid-50s. We're old school. We like having a book in our hands. I immediately crack the spine when I'm reading a book, so it'll be comfortable for me, and it's just part of the reading experience for me. I do have, these are all my books behind me, but I do have a ton of books by other authors that I've collected over the years. And most of those are in storage boxes that go underneath the beds. I have just about everything from Catherine Coulter. Her Sherbrooke series will always remain one of my favorite series ever. Joanna Lindsay, with the Mallorys, Julie Garwood, all of her historicals, but excuse me, especially The Bride and what was the other one? Lion's Lady, two of my absolute favorites. Linda Howard, the whole actually anything Linda Howard wrote, I loved. Brenda Joyce, I loved. Jane Ann Krentz, also as Amanda Quick. Elizabeth Lowell, Stella Cameron. I mean, I have so many books under the bed that I pull them out and reread them sometimes because it's like visiting an old friend. Sometimes I don't want to get invested in a new book. I don't really want to pull something out and know that I'll get caught up in it and I won't be able to put it down because I have so much of my own work to do. So I'll revisit one of my old books. Like I say, I'll pull out one of the Mackenzies or one of the Mallorys and I read them. And that way I already know what's going to happen, so when it's time for me to do something else, I can set the book down and go do what I've got to do, but it gives you that nice mind break and just like you're visiting with someone. So I have a ton of books that I've saved. Shelley Mead says, when you were younger, what did you want to be when you grew up? Was it a writer or something else? When I was younger, Shelley, we had a lot of alcoholism in our family. And so growing up, the main thing I wanted to do was get married and have that perfect little home life, where, like in Leave It to Beaver, where June Cleaver always wore a dress and she packed kids' lunches and the husband came in a suit. That was my ideal, was to have, a spotless house and no arguments and everybody happy and just being a really proper, good family. And then my husband and I married right out of high school. And he always worked third shift and he's never packed a lunch a day in his life. So I didn't really get to pack any lunches, but I've never worn a dress in the kitchen either, I don't think, unless it was because I had to on my way out the door for something else. But I think we've really built what we hope to build as a family, and so that's all I really wanted, was to have like a loving family. I think the right type of family for what I envisioned family should be. So the idea of writing never really entered my mind. I worked at Kroger's as a clerk. I worked at P&G as one of the first material handlers in the factory there. Little odds and ends jobs like that. I used to work cleaning other people's houses and babysitting and just doing whatever I had to do to make ends meet that would keep my time free so that I could be there for my kids. Do the room mom thing and go on all the field trips and be there at the school whenever they had something special going on. So, it wasn't until I was older, and like I said, I already had all three kids, and I got sick with something, I don't know, it was bronchitis or pneumonia, one of those, I can never remember which, and was pretty sick, and my sister brought me over a bag of books. And I picked up a romance, and I jumped in the middle, and it was a sex scene, and I read it and got so enthralled that I had to go back to the beginning to see how these people had gotten to that point, and I was hooked. And I think I no sooner became hooked as a romance reader than I started writing my own, just to do them the way that I wanted to do them, not because there was anything wrong with the other books, just because I always, as I was reading, I would think one thing was going to happen and something else would. So I started writing, and like I said, it took me over 10 books to finally sell, and over 5 years. But I think once you're hooked, you're hooked. And I was probably always a writer in my head, and I just didn't know it. Too busy planning other things. Prairie Dawn says, who would you cast as female and male lead if Run the Risk was made into a movie? Well, Timothy Olyphant can be anything in any of my stories he ever wants to be, because I think he's so awesome. But I guess since he could probably play Risk. Female. Oh, this is where I need my husband's help, because I always tell him so and so would be perfect, and then I can't remember who it is. I'm bad. I go to the movies and I enjoy the movies. We go probably twice a week, but I never know anybody's name in the movies. Ryan Reynolds is awesome. I like him. Female leads. I don't know. I can't tell you. I don't know. Somebody good looking, somebody cute, somebody strong. Would never want a whiny heroine. Somebody not too stuck on herself. But it would sure be fun to get to find out, wouldn't it? I would sure love to have a movie made. Hi, Cassie McCraw. Let's see. Red Feather says, do your other family members read your books? Uh, I think I have my sister-in-law's read a few, and I have another sister-in-law that's read a few. Overall, no. Although my mother-in-law a lot of times will come by and shop off the shelf and take books to a friend. Her roots are down in North Carolina, and when she goes back, she always takes a couple books to somebody down there. My cleaning ladies read my books, and or mothers do, I guess. One of my sons, he has a friend who reads my books. My one son, my oldest son, he works at a bank, and I called the bank the other day and I asked for him, and the guy, they transferred me to the wrong, I thought was the wrong person. My son's the manager there, and they got on the line and said, "Can I help you?" And I said, "Oh, I wanted to talk to Aaron." And they said, "Oh, well, we can help you." And I said, "Well, no, this is his mom." And the guy said, "Oh, I've read your books. I really like your books." And I was thrown because I didn't know what guy would be reading my books, but he was talking about my servant books he had read, the scarier books. So it was kind of fun, just to kind of trip into somebody. So my son will do that. He'll take books into where he works, and my husband will take books to people. But my family overall doesn't really read them, which is okay. I think my sister might have read a few, but not many. Let's see. Fish Stick says, "How do you find the extra time to read when you're trying to balance time with your family and your writing?" Uh, yeah, I don't find as much time to read as I'd like. I'm a little bit behind right now because I got on this reading kick over the summer I was reading Jill Shalvis's, what's the name of that town she's in? It's a fabulous series of books. I don't, I don't have it in front of me, but it's her new series that's out right now. Man, that is some good stuff. She is hilarious. She's a phenomenal writer. So I zipped through like 3 of her books and have a fourth here ready to read. And then Erin McCarthy with her, the Fast Track series. I got totally hooked, and I went through like 3 of her books. So, I think I probably read 7, 8 books over the summer, which put me behind because I'm not the fastest reader in the world. And so when I should have been writing myself, a lot of times I was busy reading them instead. My husband's retired, but he goes to the gym a lot, and he does all the work around here that has to be done, and so he stays pretty busy, almost more so than if he wasn't retired. And so while he's busy, that's my time, and I can either write or read or work on promo or Facebook or whatever it is I have to do. So I fit it in. Sometimes he watches TV that I'm not really into, and then I read then. So, and Sunday is our family day, so I always leave Sunday open. The kids are always welcome to come in. They know we'll be here every Sunday, and there'll be something to eat every Sunday, and it's not an obligation. If they've got other things to do, that's fine. If they don't, they're welcome, and the rest of the family knows, cousins and sister and brother and nieces and nephews and in-laws, they're all welcome on Sunday. Sunday's just the family day, so I don't plan to read on Sundays. Let's see. Passion for Fiction says, "Which book would you most like to see as a feature film and why?" I would love to see Causing Havoc, which is an MMA book, because I haven't seen a really realistic MMA movie made yet, and I think it would be really awesome to actually see a movie that's centered on what real MMA is, but also had a romance in it, so that everything's better with a romance in it, so that people could see what the sport is really like. Plus, that would lead into so many other books. Maybe there'd be more movies. And I would enjoy watching it because I love the action of MMA. I've since the day I wrote those books, I thought they would lend themselves well to a movie. But hasn't happened yet. But that would be my pick. Savvy Bookworm says, "Are you going to watch the debate tonight?" You know I am. I'm going to be all over it. Are you going to be watching? Yeah, I wouldn't miss it. I'm really caught up in the politics this time around. So I keep all my politics on my private Facebook page so I don't offend anybody, because luckily we're a big world of diverse opinions and different viewpoints, and overall I think people want the same things but differ in how we think we should get them. So let's see. Joni Armstrong says, "Do you have any ideas about what you will be writing when you finish the Love Undercover books?" I love Servant too, but anything new? Well, I might do some more MMA. I'm kind of leaning in that direction, but as I said earlier, I don't think it'll be the same. It probably would not be the same group, so you wouldn't be seeing Havoc and Simon and those people in the new series, because I think it would have to be all new because of different publishers. But I do have some good ideas for going back into MMA. So that might be my next plan. But then again, I don't know. You know, I got the rest of Rowdy's book to write, and then have to write Dash's book, and there's a whole lot of stuff that happens between now and then. So you know, we just have to see where it sort of takes me. I also do want to do more servant books, but I don't know if anybody read, or any of you on here, I'm sure people read, but I don't know if any of you read the Out of the Light into the Shadows book that introduced new characters in my LL series type storyline. You know, so it wasn't Servant, it wasn't Gabby and Luther, it was other characters, people with a special talent. That was kind of a sexy super talent. So I might want to go back to them again also. See, Passion for Fiction says, what advice would you give to someone wanting to pursue a career in writing? I actually have several things I would advise. Number one is don't try to follow any patterns that are already out there. Don't look at it and say, well, look, E.L. James and Sylvia Day are doing great, so I should write erotica, because they're already doing it and doing it really well. And by the time you get your book written and get to that point, the phase might have passed. It might not be as hot anymore. Don't look at paranormal and say, well, because Sherilyn Kenyon's doing so awesome and Christine Feehan's doing so awesome, I should write paranormal, Cresley Cole. Because they're already doing it really well, and by the time you get a book written and get it sold and they get it on the shelves, you know, it just might not be that anymore. You always have to write the book that you're really dying to write, the one that you really, really want to write. And if you write the book that you're really, really wanting to write and you really enjoy writing it, readers will enjoy reading it. That's my big belief on that. I have so much fun writing. Sometimes I struggle with it. You know, today was one of those days where Rowdy was I had kind of taken him around a corner I shouldn't have taken him around, and he kind of bludgeoned his way back out of that corner and is kind of doing his own thing now, which made sense. But I had to rewrite a few pages, so it wasn't a great writing day. You know, I only got about 4 pages done. But I enjoyed it. Once I figured out what I was doing wrong and I got it turned around, then it was a lot of fun. And I think you have to let your characters do what they want to do. At least that's what works for me. And you have to have fun doing it. And if you do the best book you can do, voice is the only thing you have that's different from anybody else. And in order to get something fresh and new on the market, you have to let your voice go and be you. Do you get a lot of feedback from your readers? What do they say? Well, they say everything. You know, I mean, I get a ton of, I probably get, I get about 250, actually closer to 300 emails a day now. And some of them are emails that I can just weed through pretty quickly. Some are not. You know, some are readers that want to give me just kudos and say, I love the book and thank you and it was awesome. And some want to read me the riot act and tell me how I suck and how I should never write another word. And some just really want to give me advice on how they think I could make my books better. And I go back to that, I have to write my book. And I have to write the book the way that works for me. And so while I love hearing from readers, and I always appreciate feedback, I don't necessarily pay that much attention to it other than to say thanks and be glad that they're reading me. Because if I tried to take the advice, you know, I've had people write me and say the books are too sexy. So if I quit making them so sexy, then I disappoint the people that write me and say there's not enough sex. And somebody will say the beginning of this book was slow, and someone else will say the last half was slow. And, you know, I had people that would write me and get pretty upset because a secondary character didn't get a book of their own. Perfect example was Barber, who was in Simon Says and Hard to Handle. And some people were furious that I had not given him his own complete book. He didn't have his own complete, in my head, my muse did not have an entire book for him. He had a secondary story. So I did the best with it I could, and I love hearing from readers, but I can't necessarily always make them happy. Okay, let's see here. I think we're almost at the end of our time here. Oops, I lost myself again. Okay, it says we're going to have 10 lucky winners are going to snag a copy of Run the Risk. And one reader will win a Dirty Car Art print and a Run the Risk t-shirt. So let's see, winner of the books. I hope you're on here paying attention. Allison Gale Rush, Red Feather, Clay Allison, Joni Armstrong, Deborah, Connie Schultz, Karen Walker, Bogdan, CLW 9900, and Susan Kosnick. And let's see. The BookTrib winner of the print and the t-shirt is Amanda Starr. If you're one of the lucky winners, please email, I hope you got your pens handy, livechat@booktrib.com. That's LIVECHAT at BookTrib, BOOKTRIB.com, and send your mailing address to claim your prize. If you want to learn more about me and my past books, visit my website, lorifoster.com. Thank you, everyone, so much for being here. I really, really appreciate it. I had a good time. I hope you did too. And if I didn't get to your question and you want to email me privately or catch me on Facebook, feel free. I try to answer every single email I get. Thank you.